What's going on, everybody? I'm not gonna lie, even though I do wanna lie for the sake of white people, I thought Jack Harlow's last album was basically terrible. I think he went way too far in the wrong direction. Because it's not that he isn't talented, he's been making decent music for years. I've known about Jack since 2019, and I always thought he had some bangers. But I think he really watered himself down badly with some absolutely terrible writing and forgettable beats on his last album, Come Home, the Kids Miss You. So I get why the whole hip-hop community wrote him off so quickly. The project just felt so dull. The writing, the storytelling, the narrative, the character of Jack Harlow, it was just so shallow. There were too many big features and not enough substance. It was too smooth and not real enough. Did I think he was beyond repair as a rapper? Did I think he fell off the face of the earth? The worst rap fall off in years? No, I mean, honestly, I kind of forgot about him before I could even form an opinion. But when I saw he was dropping a record out of nowhere with no promo, I was thinking, yeah, this is the Deep Cuts album. This is his second chance. This is gonna be a lot deeper. This is his return from his big day. This is gonna be some real shit. So sure enough, when I turned this on, I saw no features, 10 songs, 24-minute runtime. I'm thinking, all right, Jack is back. He's gonna try and prove that he can actually write some clever raps and tell an interesting story. This is clearly gonna be a character-building album. This is his redemption arc. So with all this pressure on him, with this being potentially his last big chance to prove that he's not just a cookie-cutter pop rapper with bland topics and lame lyrics, is he gonna pull through and deliver a project with substance, or will he actually fall off for good? Let's get into it. Track 1, Common Ground. This is Jack Harlow's moment of cultural commentary, his self-aware worldview that's gonna set the tone for what exactly we're talking about on Jackman. And it's really not bad. I like the story on Common Ground. He's basically calling his fans out with some really poignant comments on how white kids from the suburbs have infested hip-hop culture without having any real skin in the game, pointing out the casual hypocrisies involved in looking and acting hip-hop without having any personal basis for doing so. I really like the last few lines where he says, "Get to feel like a thug but don't have to act on it. Local homicide rates got him astonished, reading about it on a laptop and pajamas. Microsoft Office to complete their assignments, never seen the hood, still can't help but have comments. Anything to feel less harmless, Adderall dealers carrying around guns just to make it feel realer." Already off the bat, I think this is easily one of Jack's best songs. It's the type of song that kind of only he could make. This is a unique perspective that he has that he can express in an interesting way. It's one of the only kind of songs where an outsider perspective like this is expressed in hip hop, calling out the other outsiders with a self-aware approach. I like the intention behind this song, and it helps a lot that the lyrics are actually so on point. There are so many people that need to hear this. As someone who comes from a difficult background but looks like I don't, people often talk to me in a way that's astonishingly ignorant without realizing that they're talking about my background. And I feel like this track actually gives a voice to many thoughts I've had in the past. Nothing to do with hip hop, but rather the life that you have when you grow up in a city. Overall, it's a great intro, and I think it's one of Jack's best songs easily.
The suburbs are filled with ebonics and trap sonics. Frat boys saying no cap, put racks on it. The dialect got a little splash of some black on it. Cap and gowns bought by the money in dad's pockets. White girls squatting, trying to get that ass.
The next track, I Don't Love It, has this chipmunk soul beat where we kind of hear Jack talk about his future wife and his hometown, and it's pretty much over before it started. It's a really short song, and it basically just melts into the instrumental for the next track, Ambitious, which I think sounds super similar. I do like how he tells this story from the perspective of a younger Jack before he was cool. The story about how even when he had a record deal at 19 or 20 and he was selling out his hometown venues, he still didn't have everything he wanted. He was opening for other artists, playing festival sets at 1 p.m., dead crowd, no one's paying attention, he's struggling to get heard. It's a decent song overall with a warm and sunny beat that I enjoyed a lot. The next track, Is That Alright, is a slower song. It has a beat that mainly rides on this one piano melody with a few pitched up background vocal chops. It's a nice song. I like a few of these bars about Jack wanting to live a wholesome, peaceful life away from the fame and the pressure, the fast life, it's all too much. But at the same time, he's going, yeah, you know, maybe a little ice, maybe a few fights. It's a cute little song, but it passes pretty quick. The fifth song, Gang, Gang, Gang. This is the one that everyone's hyping up to be the most unexpected, the craziest, the wildest, the weirdest song Jack Harlow's ever made. Like, holy shit, he made Come Home, the Kids Miss You, and now he's making this? And I'm not afraid to admit, this is a pretty crazy track.
Home for the holidays. My friend pulled me to the side like, did you hear about Marcus? Our Marcus? Yeah, our Marcus. A bunch of girls say he raped him in the back of some Target. They say
Jack tells this dark story about the nature of friendship and morality and how rough it can be when someone you've known since you were younger turns out to be a very different person than the kid you knew back in the day. I think musically it feels pretty inspired by JID with the instrumental, and even Jack's flow a little bit, which is always a good thing. In terms of lyrics, it relies a lot on shock value. He's talking about how these people he used to be friends with were caught molesting kids, raping multiple women. Obviously, my low-key Twitter brain, my meme thought is,
oh wow, Jack, why do you have so many horrible friends?
but when I sit for a second and I try to take it seriously, I'm thinking, okay, this is a dark song with a meaning behind it. And it feels even crazier that a song like this could come from the mind of the same guy who was making shit like What's Poppin' just a year and a half, 2 years ago. But at the same time, it's just not executed the right way at all. This song, Gang Gang Gang, is just so weird to the point that the shock value wears off and it ends up feeling kind of flat. Especially the conclusion. He just takes on this persona of this PR statement like, yeah, we had to abandon our evil rapist molester friends, but that kinda is just what happens. There's no internal struggle, there's no moral struggle, there's not a lot of reflection going on here. It's just like, damn, my friends are sexual criminals, that's life. That's what happens. It's just weird. Like, unless this really did happen and Jack Harlow was childhood friends with fucking Jeffrey Dahmer, it's like, dude, this isn't even really something that makes sense to write a song about. Like, your friend molested a 10-year-old and your other friend is a serial rapist with 7 victims. It just feels thrown in there without expanding on why he cares enough to make a song about it. And I don't want to bring race into the discussion, but this is something that white rappers always do. Writing a song about something dark and horrible and fucked up in a way that just falls flat. Like, he's just trying to throw himself into the theme of trauma that's common in hip hop, but it feels so contrived. It's like you get a new girlfriend and she tells you, look, I've been sexually assaulted before. And you're like, yeah, I got bullied in school. No one asked. The song is just weird. I'll admit it's interesting, but it's not a good interesting. The more I listen to it, the more it feels like a refrigerator that stopped working years ago and now there's flies flying around in the meat. It's that kind of interesting. I look at it once, I don't want to see it again. Denver, though, is the track after the weirdness of Gang Gang Gang, and it may be my favorite song on here, actually. I think it has the nicest beat yet, with a 1960s or 70s folk sample, but for some reason still, Jack immediately throws this opening line, walking past the homeless in a Rolex, and he just leaves that there with no more context at all. It doesn't have anything to do with his backstory, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody he knows or something he's been through. It's just something he's doing, something he's thinking, walking past the homeless in a Rolex. It's weird. I think it actually is, though, one of the first songs that feels vulnerable and personal in an authentic way. Jack talks about his insecurities and flaws. He actually mentions his critics for the first time as well. He raps, wondering if the people that write about me are right about me. He says, Nemo said to keep my foot on necks because I can't let him forget me, but the brags in my raps are getting less and less convincing. I think this song actually has a really nice melody in the background of the beat. It feels like something from the Avalanches, if you don't mind that kind of reach of a comparison. But overall, it's a nice, honest song about Jack looking at all the troubles that come with his success, and I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 songs on this project for sure.
walking past the homeless in a Rolex. Just got off the stage on the Today Show and I basically felt soulless. Years go by and I keep saying I'm gonna use my phone less, but I should just be phoneless. Ignorance is bliss and so is...
Unfortunately though, it's followed by a really lame minute-and-a-half snooze fest for the girls. The song No Enhancers. It's like, okay, Jack, you gotta make songs for the girls, but it's just lame. It just doesn't even sound finished. I like my girls with no enhancers. Okay, you're talking to the girls, bro. It's not for me. And then It Can't Be is a song where Jack again rejects maybe not critics, but people who make fun of him online, Twitter. He's addressing his haters online. This isn't for Pitchfork, this is for Instagram comments, I guess. He rejects the idea that he's only famous because he's white. He's talking about how true he is to the lifestyle. He's saying it can't be the Jeep instead of the Rolls Royce. Like, you know, he grew up with a Jeep in the driveway instead of a Rolls. I grew up with no car, bro. You're middle class. That's not hip hop. He says, it can't be the Tribe and the Biggie and the Nas, the Outkast and Missy in my iPod. Okay, you listen to hip hop. He says it can't be the years of work I put in. I respect Jack Harlow's work ethic. He comes off as fairly authentic. People like him. He seems to be a cool guy. And I'll admit, it's a clever way to structure a song. It's a decently smooth way to address the white rapper allegations without preaching about it or making it some corny Eminem style lecture. I'll give him that, but the song has no character otherwise. The beat is based on this unbearable MIDI trumpet melody. It makes it feel like a 2015 Chance the Rapper or J. Cole song. And ultimately, for me, that makes it a skip. The second to last song, Blame on Me, has one of the better beats from Jackman, and we hear him getting deep and real about his family life over a haunting vocal sample. He talks about how the emotional rift between him and his brothers got bigger and bigger with time, and then he switches perspectives to his father, expressing his struggles with anger and pain, and trying to break cycles from how he was raised and how he raised Jack and his brother. I think it's a great idea for a song. He's exploring how different members of a family can all be impacted by each other's flaws and shortcomings, how brothers can shape brothers, and fathers shape sons, and grandfathers can affect their grandsons. It's a decent narrative. You know, a lot of people are saying it's like something from Mr. Morale by Kendrick, and I agree. It kind of does take inspiration from that formula with a narrative. It's not quite as brilliant as a Kendrick song, but that's Jack Harlow. It's what we're listening to today, you know?
We grew up in the same household. For years we were close, throwing football in the yard till the lights turned on inside the lamppost. Years go by, something changed when you got to junior high and started hanging with them guys.
The last song, Questions, is yet another deep introspective track that talks about Jack's deep fears and his feelings about God and women and all this and that, and that was it. It's short. It's a deep song. I think it's funny that Jack alluded to being the best white boy since Eminem on the second track, because the truth is, at the moment, he actually has a lot more common with Mac Miller in 2012, or at least he's facing the same problem that Mac Miller was back then. When Mac Miller's debut album charted at #1, unprecedented, completely independent, his success was interrupted by extreme hate from critics and fans who called his music shallow, boring, rude, poorly executed, but his second album was a complete reinvention of his identity with a new, deeper sound, lyrics that felt infinitely more honest and authentic and personal. Mac Miller went on to become one of the most respected artists of his generation because he reinvented himself and discovered a whole new sound along the way. Jack Harlow's Jackman, I would hesitate to put this project on that level. This isn't watching movies with the sound off. This isn't Faces. It's nowhere close. While many of the beats on here sound comfortable and down to earth, there are some truly bad beats at the same time. It Can't Be, in particular, is one of the worst beats I've heard this year. And in terms of lyrics, it's a pretty similar story. Common Ground is a good song with sharp cultural commentary on a subject that doesn't get enough attention at all. Gang 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 at least tries to say something real with the classic hip-hop formula of a disgusting topic with a real deep message, but he didn't add enough of a message, which just makes it feel disgusting. Denver is a genuinely good song with a lighthearted yet melancholic sound and some real introspective lyrics about Jack's mental disconnect between reality, aspirations, history, and fame. It Can't Be is a clever idea for a song with a bad instrumental. Blame on Me is a real good song from the heart with a gorgeous beat, but Questions is just a skip. A lot of the lyrics, just like a lot of the beats, kind of come and go pretty quickly. They don't love it. Is that all right? No enhancers, questions, they just don't stick out as having a narrative or a real theme that I can point to. Jack Harlow talks so much about wanting to be at the top. He wants to be the best, but even on Jackman, an album that aims to be more introspective, more real and serious, it doesn't reveal that much about what's going on with him. He talks about insecurities, family issues, fame, racism, career troubles, but ultimately it feels like it could have been realer. It could have been deeper. In some way, when I walk away from this project, I felt like all I'm left with is a song about Jack's childhood friends being molesting rapists, a couple of really bizarre bars about homeless people and cancer, a few interesting beats just surrounded by mid. I agree, this is the best studio album Jack has made yet. It's leagues beyond the quality of storytelling and lyrics on That's What They All Say and Come Home the Kids Miss You. Those albums are bad. I bet you barely even remember that That's What They All Say existed. That shit came and went so quickly. I haven't thought about it or listened to it or seen anything about it in 2 years. It only came out 2 years and 4 months ago. But Jackman shows that Jack Harlow has a great love for hip-hop storytelling. It shows that he has a solid ability to tell introspective stories. And it is so much more interesting than his previous 2 projects. Is it great, though? Is it even good? I think Jackman is unexpectedly surprisingly good, but it's not impressive. It's definitely not great. Like, okay, maybe he's not terrible after all. Maybe he's got some talent, some skills, some songwriting ability, some decent narrative themes, but does that make him great? Because those are two different things. At the end of the day though, I think a lot of my complaints are basically nitpicking, because maybe some tracks, maybe some lyrics sound the same, maybe it's a little bland, but they are all detailed, it's all well written, it's all well structured, and it's a short album. It's not going to be a grand cinematic masterpiece. He's here to address some things that need to be addressed. He's here to prove that he's got some substance. It's a lot more like a mixtape to me. It's a quickly made promise. He's saying, hey, don't count me out. I've got more coming. I'm not done yet. I can give him a bit of a pass that a few of the songs blend together. They're short. There's not that many of them. He made this quickly. So not every song is fully fleshed out. Not every track is worth a second listen on Jackman, but the themes of humility, the introspection, the down-to-earth attitude, and the mellow sound, it's a great improvement on the dog water content of his last two albums. I think Jackman is clearly a statement piece of a project. It's a promise that he will do better and will continue to grow in the right direction. It still has some filler, which kind of sucks on a 24-minute album. There shouldn't be filler on here. So ultimately, I think Jackman is a strong 6. I think more than anything, it's a good sign from Jack Harlow that he still has room to improve and grow. He has a chance to come back from a new angle and win people over again. At the very least, he's not done. Is it a masterpiece? No, definitely not. But is it a really good last-minute save? Can we safely say that Jack Harlow is kind of back? I think that's fair. This is about as good as it gets after a flop like Come Home, the Kids Miss You, and I admire Jack Harlow for putting in the work to make it happen. Anyway, I'm Philip, this is Volksgeist, and thank you for watching. And by the way, let me know if you guys think I should drop the embroidered Volksgeist t-shirts in the comments below. I've been working on these for a minute. I'm probably trying to drop them soon, but you guys gotta let me know.